Elon Musk's team continues to ramp up their efforts to upend government. I want to go to CNN's Lauren Fox. Lauren, actually, I'm going to go to Senator Chris Van Hollen. Lauren is great, too. Senator Van Hollen deals with Lauren quite often, but he's going to be stuck with me right now. Senator, I appreciate your time this morning. I know there's a ton going on. You know, what was interesting is I was kind of thinking through what I wanted to ask you here. I went on to look through your press releases over the course of the last couple of weeks, and the number of them, I mean, it's like 8 or 9 in a row across every different element of the federal government, raising concerns about what DOGE is doing. The scale of this right now, how do you decide what to focus on, what to try and counter, what to call investigations into?
Well, Phil, it is good to be with you. There is a common theme to what's going on across all these agencies, and that is that President Trump has illegally installed Elon Musk to conduct a raid on U.S. government agencies, not for the purpose of efficiency, but for the kind of purposes that you've seen. For example, they now have access to the personal private data of millions of Americans. They told the folks at the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, these are the cops on the beat to look out for consumers when they're scammed, they told them not to come to work. That means more scammers can take advantage of the American people. The common theme is implementation of Project 2025. Phil, you may remember on the campaign trail when he was asked about it, President Trump was like, Project 2025? What's that? But Elon Musk is now doing the dirty work for that. Russ Vought, who is the architect for 2025, has now been installed as the head of what's called the Office of Management and Budget in the White House. That's the command and control center for the budget over all federal agencies. So implementation of the very unpopular Project 2025 is the common theme connecting all of these actions.
You know, you mentioned the newly confirmed OMB director who also controls OIRA, kind of the levers of government right now, both from Senate confirmed officials, appointed officials, and then kind of the quasi group that Elon Musk is running. The biggest question I have, since Democrats are in the minority in the House and the Senate, has been, is there any recourse, or is it almost entirely based on the courts to try and stop what you're talking about? The CFPB, Republicans have long opposed the CFPB, have long tried to figure out a way to suffocate the agency's existence. Now they're actually doing it.
Well, that's right. Look, there are 3 lines of defenses, but the most immediate line of defense are the courts. When you see this much illegal activity going on all at once, the courts have to be the first to react. And I've been working very closely with the lawyers bringing these cases in the courts. And we have seen so many temporary restraining orders issued in just the last few weeks. That's a reflection of the scope of illegal activity going on by the Trump administration that thinks that it can use executive orders to make sweeping changes that really have to go through Congress. Now, you mentioned this congressional hearing. I would love to see them put up DOGE and Project 2025 for a vote in the U.S. Congress. I predict it would go down. It's very unpopular, which is why they're using these illegal means, not going through Congress, but through executive orders to try to do it. Donald Trump knew this was unpopular on the campaign trail. That's why he ran away from it. Now he's got Elon Musk doing his dirty work.
Yeah, as someone who's following as many of those court cases as I can, I do have to wonder how the actual legal costs balance out with any cost savings that are discovered by DOGE at this point. I do want to ask, you're also a leading voice in your caucus on foreign policy issues. On the issue of Gaza, President Trump making very clear his initial proposal, controversial proposal in Gaza to relocate Palestinians, redevelop the land into prime real estate. It was not just a kind of a trial balloon. Listen.
There is nothing to buy. It's Gaza. It's a war-torn area. We're going to take it. We're going to hold it. We're going to cherish it.
And Mr. President, take it under what authority? It is sovereign territory.
Under the U.S. authority.
Senator, what's so striking, he was sitting next to King Abdullah of Jordan, a very close ally of the United States. Arab states very opposed almost immediately to what the president had laid out. How does this go from here?
Well, Phil, what the president has done is he has lit a fire and thrown it on a keg of gasoline, because what's happening in Gaza, what's happening in the Middle East is already a tinderbox. It's already on fire. And what he is doing is going to spread that fire. He has essentially called for what amounts to the ethnic cleansing of Gaza, the forced removal of 2 million Palestinians to other areas. King Abdullah in Jordan and, of course, Egypt have said not only is that repulsive from a moral perspective and a legal perspective, it will also destabilize their countries. It has emboldened, Phil, the farthest extreme right voices in Israel, people like Ben-Gvir, people like Smotrich. These are people who have been waiting for the opportunity to essentially find a way to move those Palestinians out of Gaza, and frankly, they'd like to move them out of the West Bank. So what President Trump has done, he came in saying he was going to enforce this ceasefire agreement. He has made it much harder to move to the next phase. I hope we can do it. They were helpful. Steve Witkoff was helpful in getting stage one implemented, but now President Trump has made it harder to complete the job, despite the fact that he claimed that what he wanted to do was bring peace to the region. He's done the opposite.
Are you surprised? There are people in kind of the Trump orbit that you are never surprised when they immediately jump to support whatever the president says. I was reading what your colleagues, Republican and Democrat, were saying in the chamber after that proposal, and Republican allies were very surprised, were very, I think, candid, at least in that moment, saying this isn't really a thing that can work. One who wasn't, though, was the Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, who you served with in the U.S. Senate, who was on the committee with you. Are you surprised how quickly he got behind the proposal?
Look, I am. My one vote I cast for a member of the Trump cabinet was for now Secretary Rubio. I regret to say that I regret that vote because once installed in office, he is essentially abandoning the positions that he took here as a United States Senator. That's when he's in control. I mean, he's not in control of AID. Elon Musk is doing that. You know, Rubio said he was going to consult with us on the AID situation at the very time. So, yes, I've been extremely disappointed in the actions of Secretary Rubio, including jumping on board on this insane, wrong idea, which effectively is calling for ethnic cleansing in Gaza, because the president said he would be willing to use the military to do it.
Maryland Democratic Senator Chris Van Hollen, appreciate your time, sir. Thanks so much.
Good to be with you, Phil. Thanks.
Well, right now, we've been talking about it. The House DOJ subcommittee holding that hearing on what they're calling the, quote, war on waste. We're following it for you live. We're back in a moment.